We go ahead with roll call then and bring her in when we. Director Downing? Here. Director Dutra? Director Kalantari Johnson?
Present.
Director Koenig?
Here.
Director Leonore?
Here.
Director Lind?
Here.
Director Martinez?
Here, can you hear me okay?
Ah, she's there.
Wonderful. Then I have one thing I need to announce, which is that I'm participating remotely for Just Cause under AB 2449 due to need to care for a child.
Continue on. Okay. All right. Director Newsom?
Present.
Director Orbach?
Here.
Director Heroes Carter is absent today. Director Rockin? Director Northcutt is absent today. Director Riskin? Quorum.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll now recess for the Santa Cruz Civic Improvement Corporation meeting. Do we vote on Monica?
No, it's just cause, so she just needed to make the announcement at the start of the
Okay.
meeting, and now we can proceed.
Now we'll recess.
Hey, that's a cue for me to start.
Yes.
All right. So I would like to call to order the Santa Cruz Civic Improvement Corporation. And since we meet once a year, I'm going to just remind us all what this is by reading the mission. The SCCIC is an independent agency established in 1986. It's a nonprofit public benefit corporation organized to provide financial assistance to the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District by acquiring, constructing, and financing various facilities, land and equipment, and the leasing of facilities, land and equipment for the use, benefit, and enjoyment of the public served by the district. So that's the SCCIC. At our February, so I'm on agenda, oh, excuse me, I skipped over call to order. Let's do a call to order. Oh, I did the call to order, sorry. Let me get grounded here. So on to agenda item number 2. At our February meeting, we selected directors for SCCIC. These directors will serve a 2-year term expiring 2027, and it includes myself, Shebra Kalantari Johnson as president, Rebecca Downing as vice president, Manu Koenig as secretary, Donna Lind as treasurer, and Scott Newsom as director. So with that, we will do a roll call. Present.
Here.
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 Present.
Great. Moving on to item number 4. This is oral and written communications, and this is anything pertaining to the SCCIC. It's not on the agenda, but related to the SCCIC. So oral communication for SCCIC. Do we have anyone online? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Then we will move on to item number 5, which is additions and deletions to the agenda. Okay, thank you. Item 6, which is approval of prior year's minutes of March 22nd, 2024. Let me see if there are any questions, comments, any oral communication on the minutes from last year. Okay, I'll bring it back to the directors for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Do we do a roll call vote? Okay. All right, so those members of SCCIC in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Right. Item 7 is the acceptance of financial statement for fiscal year 24, which is an attachment C. Questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Any public comment? Anyone online? I feel like a robot right now. I'll bring it back to our board for a motion.
I'll make a motion to financial. Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Abstention? That passes unanimously. That adjourns our SECIC meeting. See y'all next year.
Welcome back, everyone. I just want to let you know Community Television of Santa Cruz is broadcasting today's meeting, and it will be available on their YouTube channel next week. Hector Guzman is providing Spanish interpretation services today. Introduce yourself.
Nombre es Héctor Guzmán y yo soy un intérprete de español inglés. Si hay alguien que necesite ayuda o asistencia en algún punto de la agenda de hoy, por favor déjenle saber a la mesa directiva. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments this morning from our board members?
Just a thank you to Metro. The city had several cars, a whole group of cars broken into the Metro lot. And I appreciate the staff who've worked with our law enforcement officers and investigators to find videos, and sounds like may possibly even have a bus may have caught the license plate of the suspect vehicle, and another bus caught the person actually during the crime. And just wonderful to have that partnership with Metro, and cool for our investigators to have those resources.
When was this done?
Just about 2 days. Last few days.
Item 8 is set aside for directors and members of the general public to address any item not on the agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. No action or discussion will be taken on any of these items presented, except that any director may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. And all matters of an administrative nature will be staff. Each public comment is limited to 3 minutes or less. And I guess you're already at the podium, Brian, so start.
Yes, Brian Peoples Trail Now. We're a local organization, thousands of supporters, been around for over a decade. We actually have some letters in the agenda that the topic I'm talking about, one from me and Jack Brown. Initially, the first thing I want to mention is basically the Metro representatives on the RTC have been bullying at the RTC meetings and in public. Vanessa actually was very much derogatory statements to Supervisor Kim DeSerpa at the last meeting. Actually, Kim stopped by my house on Wednesday, and we talked about it, and she was upset, and she hasn't heard from Vanessa, and so hopefully Vanessa follows up with an apology. In addition to that, Director Rotkin made some what we consider censorship quotes in the newspaper, attempting to claim that it's a small group of people who are against the train, and it was really an intimidating public display on his part. Jack Brown actually stood up and looked at the data and proved his statements to not be right. And he made a presentation at the RTC board. And so those are inappropriate coming from board members here. We don't need that bullying. One other thing I want to, Mr. Rotkin continues to comment, which we consider bullying, is calling the future coastal trail a recreational trail. It's not a recreational trail. It's essentially a highway, an additional highway lane. That's the amount of volume that will be running through that. And the idea that we keep calling it out as a recreational trail, that is a form of bullying to our organization. So we're asking you to stop with that. And so I come to this board. And, you know, Corey, I met with you a few weeks ago. You know, there's financial issues with this organization. And so this type of display by these board members do not show good progress to the public, which you need to start building trust with the public. So I'm hopeful that you don't continue to act this way at the RTC meetings or write public letters. It's not appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments in the room? Do we have anything online?
Brian might have pointed out that at the RTC meeting, I apologized to Jack Brown. And Jack Brown thanked me for the apology. And I made clear that in the letter, I was being overly flippant when I made the comment about not limiting the number of letters of how many letters each individual could write. And I did not mean it seriously. And I thought that was censorship and inappropriate. So it might have been nice if Brian gave the whole story. And as I say, Jack Brown thanked me for it. And I think we're fine with the whole issue. I don't think I was bullying anybody. And as far as the recreational trail question, I have a right to my opinion and you have a right to yours. Thank you.
We have no comments on. Moving on to number 9, do we have any comments from our labor organization?
Good morning. My name is Jaime Renteria. I'm the general chair for Smart Local 23 out of Santa Cruz. I want to share something with you. On March 18th, I was invited to speak at Pajaro Valley High School. I spoke on behalf and for Miss Martha Vega's class. Her students are unique. They're essential. They're good kids. They're great students. They're a good, promising chance on becoming leaders within their community and beyond. One of the comments that we spoke about were shelters, bus shelters. Pajaro Valley High School does not have a bus shelter. It's been noticed that throughout the county, other schools have bus shelters. Her students, along with her and other students as well, most of her staff, came together and made a petition that it's available to some of us, signed by most, requesting respectfully and asking that a bus shelter be placed at Pajaro Valley High School. One of the students there, she's heading one of the projects. Her name is Ana Nabor Catarino. She also is a bus rider. She's a bus passenger. She works at the boardwalk, and she lives off of Clifford Avenue, another bus stop that doesn't have a shelter. Ms. Catarino is also a candidate for the State Seal of Civic Engagement, which I think is a pretty big and important thing. Kudos to Ms. Catarino. Ms. Catarino has noticed that it's been difficult throughout this rainy season to be at a bus stop with no shelter, and primarily, at the Pajaro Valley High. It's understandable that the Pajaro Valley High School, as well as other high schools, is basically a one-stop place. One stop in the morning, one stop in the afternoon. Everybody knows that. We agree with it. However, I figure as a bus driver that if other schools within our county have a bus shelter, why not Pajaro Valley? Let's try and work with the South County that we have, with the students that we can assist by giving Pajaro Valley a shelter. In my observation, I realized that Ms. Vega is a great, wonderful, and beautiful teacher. I've noticed that when I was there, her teaching skills are traditional and essential. Her students, something I don't see very common, respect her in a great way. Kudos to Ms. Catarino for being a good teacher. I congratulate all the students in Ms. Vega's class for working together in a project like this. And I look forward to seeing them as future leaders of our generations. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to item 10. we received 4 additional written communications that were sent to the board on March 27th, and they'll be added to the agenda packet. Item 11 is on the consent agenda, where all items are recommended actions that are considered to be routine and will be acted upon as one motion. Do we have comments from the board regarding this or any request to pull items for discussion?
Just have under oral communications, I thought Martha and some of the students were going to be online to speak at that same. At least that's what Martha told me. So is there someone online we might have?
Go ahead.
I wasn't sure it's the same topic. It's on the same topic, whether we waited on that. It sounded like opportunity. Messed up. And I was proud to see the students learning about the government process and approaching it in the way that they're. That's really nice to see.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi, good morning. I'm sorry, my name is. Oh, good morning. Sorry. My name is Olivia Martinez. I'm the Region 2 Director, and I just wanted to say that I'm here online representing SEIU workers. I apologize that I had not said anything earlier. I just wanted to say that I'm present but could not attend because I'm ill. Thank you.
Percent.
Is there anyone else? Go ahead. You just need to unmute your phone.
Martha, just unmute. We're ready to hear you. If you have 2 devices turned on, turn one of them off.
Okay, Mija, go ahead and speak. Hello, can you hear us okay? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, good morning, Santa Cruz Metro Transit District Board of Trustees. My name is Mrs. Vega, and I am the teacher and also the advisor for the students of the State Seal of Civic Engagement. There's about 50 candidates that are pursuing different projects, and I want to go ahead and pass the floor over to Anna Nabor Catarino. She's nervous. This is the first time she's speaking, but she's been a bus rider for the Metro, and she's advocating for her community here at Pajaro Valley High School, as well as her neighborhood. So here you go. Say hi.
Hello.
I could hear you. Say hi. My name is Anna Nabor.
My name is Anna Navod, and I am a candidate for the State Seal of Civic Engagement and a student at Pajaro Valley High School. As a regular bus rider, I am reaching out to advocate for the installation of a seating and shelter area at the bus stop serving our school. Many students, including myself, rely on Metro services daily. Unfortunately, the current lack of seating and weather protection leaves us exposed to the elements as we wait during the rainy seasons. Students are often drenched by the time the bus arrives, and on hot days, standing without shade can be equally uncomfortable and even hazardous. Adding shelter with seating would greatly improve the safety and comfort of students and other riders.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And we hope that you're able to push this project forward and we understand there's many different needs in the community, and we're just hoping that we're able to make it on the list as the students are advocating for shelter, especially during the rainy season. It was raining in last week, and of course, we were impacted not so long ago with our floods, and so we appreciate your time, and thank you. Thank you, Donna. We served on the Fallen Officers Board before. Jimmy Dutra, Manny Koenig, Fabian, James, and Jaime, thank you very much. We appreciate all the hard work and the rest of the board that's there. Thank you.
We're back to the consent agenda. So I'll repeat this again. The consent agenda is where all items recommended action are considered to be routine and will be acted on in one motion. Do we have comments from the board regarding this or any request to pull item discussion and agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need a roll call vote.
Oh, we have to roll call. Sorry, go ahead, Donna. Aye.
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 I can't hear Donna, but if that was my name, aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
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 Moving on to item 12, our retiree resolution of appreciation this month is for David Hernandez, who served Metro as a bus operator from September 8th, 2013 to March 10th, 2025. Do we have any public comments on this item? Any online? Any from the board? Yes, Mike.
Second.
Take a roll call vote. Aye.
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 See here.
No, he's not here. Thank you. The resolution passes. And our next item is to approve the consideration of accepting Metro's updated Title VI program report and authorizing the submission to the Federal Transit Administration. Nicole, would you like to start us on that?
Certainly. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency. FTA grantees are required to adopt and submit Title VI updates every 3 years in accordance with program guidance. Metro's update, its next update is due to the FTA next week. So several of the program elements that you see are really legacy elements that have not been updated or revised, but there are a few new updates that we wanted to call to your attention. The first is a list of Title VI complaints, investigations, or lawsuits over the past 3 years, of which there have been none. Slight updates to Metro's public participation plan, including a list of outreach events and activities that have occurred over the past 3 years. Updated information on the membership of appointed Metro committees, such as the MAC. Updated language assistance plan reflecting current demographic data and analysis concerning languages that are used most frequently by residents of the Metro service area who speak English less than very well. So we anticipate that there may be future updates that staff and council will recommend onto the Title VI policy over the next 3 years. Once the board approves the program, we will add the table of contents, we'll add evidence of the board's action, and then it'll be ready for submission. And I'll also add that the bulk of the work was done by Camille and Metro staff, really doing a fantastic job to get this update into shape. So we are happy to support and help along the way, but this was really a significant effort by Metro staff.
It's really critical that people see that we're not just, passing some sort of form that we have to do periodically, that we actually live and breathe that. Thank you. Mike?
I just wanted to comment. We don't talk about this explicitly enough, but this district was one of the first in this county to really take seriously the idea of DEI in a positive way. We never had a quota system. We're going to make sure that you can only be hired if you're a person of color or meet some category. But we went out of our way to sort of create a program that recruited, we did outreach work to make sure that all the people who might benefit the public by working with us could work here, that the people who worked here would be treated properly, and that promotions were possible for people. It's been a really wonderful system. We've been really effective at it. We're one of the best agencies in the county in terms of the percentage. If you actually look at the numbers, the percentages we filled, and it's not just by filling, say people of color at the bottom of the pile, but right all the way through our technical folks and our management and everybody else. Done a really good job of trying to take seriously the idea of equity, treating people properly and making sure that everybody has real equal opportunity. And so given the foolishness going on in Washington, D.C., which is just outright racism, it's really, I really feel proud to be part of an agency that doesn't just have these forms to fill out, check the box and do this and do that, but actually created a program that did work, that made a difference. And so we have a workforce here that's diverse and it represents our county. And I'm proud to be part of an agency that does that and that doesn't just sort of, find the easiest people, the easiest people to work with. When I first joined the city of Santa Cruz, you couldn't get a job in the public works department unless you'd been a member of the U.S. Navy. I mean, for some bizarre reason. And it was all friendship network. And the only way to get a job was to know somebody who'd been one of your buddies in the Navy. And it's not right. It's not the way people, it's not a merit system. It just means white people get hired, or that people, who have the proper education or the right friendship networks or something. And this district's been really good about this. And this Title VI program, it seems like at this point it's kind of become more routine because we've gotten so used to doing it and doing it right that it's not a big deal. We don't have fights over it. People are not saying let's not do this. Nobody on this board is sort of arguing for Trump's approach to this, which is let's have all white people because they're the only people that can do anything or something. And so I just wanted to call it out and be clear that this is an important program. This district has benefited from it and this community has benefited from it. Thank you.
Any other board comments?
Yeah, I really appreciated the historical context. Director Rockin, being new to Metro, it's important to hear the legacy of the work that Metro has been doing. I also think it's important to continue our DEI initiatives. I am concerned in terms of whether funding is in jeopardy at all for any of our programs, given the current federal administration.
Do we want to talk about that maybe during CEO?
I can answer that.
Okay.
We don't know. I mean, there's so much unknown. You hear something different every week. Right now,
I'll add, I was curious about this and searched this morning. It looks like the $1 billion investment in hydrogen production in California is at risk, which is sort of underpins our ability to bring costs down for our hydrogen bus fleet.
So a motion is required for the acceptance of the updated Title VI program report and authorizing its submission to the Federal Transit Administration. So, I'm sorry. Oh, she does. Okay, sure. Go ahead, Olivia.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about Mr. Rodkin's comment because I know that a couple people have filed civil rights complaints. And I think you must do a better job in asking your employees whether they feel that there isn't any issues at Metro regarding important that you guys really dig into this, because I know just in talking to our members, this is not the reality of what you're reporting to with this Title VI report. I'm actually going to be requesting a report to double check, but I don't think you're doing the due diligence that you should do as a board to really check with your own employees whether they feel that there isn't any racism or any type of discrimination at Metro. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure, Fabian.
So when this report comes out, is it made public to everybody in our community, in our county? And do these reports come with the report so people can see what's happening with Metro?
Yes.
It is a public document, yes. It's included in the agenda packet and it is public once it's final.
And everybody can go and read it and say, okay, this is what's happening with Metro. Okay.
We also publish our minutes, and this will actually be part of the agenda that will be, and it will be in our minutes on our web. So do we have a motion? So.
Yeah, I'll move. Sorry, I was trying to.
Yes, Mike second. Take a roll call vote.
Director Downing,
Aye.
Director Mary Johnson,
Aye.
Director Koenig,
Aye.
Director Linger,
Aye.
Director,
Aye.
Director Martinez,
Aye.
Director Newsom,
Aye.
Director Orbach,
Aye.
Director Rockin.
Aye.
On to item 14. Our next item is to approve the fiscal 26 and 27 preliminary operating budgets and the fiscal year 26 capital budget portfolio. Hear from Chuck Farmer, our Chief Financial Officer, will lead us through this item.
Sorry, turn this on. Jesus. Are we good, Donna? Awesome. All right, so this is round one of our budget review. Oh, can you not hear me? Oh, so I'm gonna have to really get that thing up. All right, so this is round one of our budget review. We need to do this for RTC, and then we'll be coming back again in May, and then of course June will be our final budget for next year. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of the budget. We've already gone through committee and more details, so I'm going to kind of do more of a higher level, but please stop me if you want to talk about anything. Right now, currently, I can't see that, so I got to look here. So right now, currently, we're coming in with a budget that has an operating loss of about $8.1 million. That is about $10 million higher than what we initially presented in our 25 budget. And I'm going to walk through the adjustments and changes that we've made from year to year. So moving on to the next slide, I'm not going to focus too much on the P&L, but on the next slide, again, an eye chart. So our operating budget and surplus is where we're starting, and I'm going to bring you over to where we're finalizing in our FY26 budget. So we had some changes in our operating revenue. That includes our fixed route and Highway 17 primarily of about 300,000. And then with our contracts, and then really these are the small, the city of Santa Cruz and so forth, about another 300,000. So roughly our revenue, our ridership revenue portion of it is up about $600,000. That's year over year. Where the big changes came in is on our expense side. Of course, each year we have a cost of living adjustment. That's about $2 million. We've had medical, dental, vision. That's all gone up drastically year over year. Our pricing, that's about another $1.6 million. We've had additional claims on, or I'll just say higher claims on workers' comp insurance. So that's about a $1.1 million adjustment. And then we have a bunch of one-time adjustments. These are adjustments where we're doing it in 26, but it won't carry over to 27. So it's like, we're going to do it, here's the cost, and then it's going to go away. So for example, we're doing these marketing campaigns. So that's just going to be a 26 spending increase, and then it's going to go away. We're replacing some hybrid batteries on some Highway 17 and some Arctic buses. Again, that's like $300,000. That's a one-time thing. We do it. These are going to, hopefully these buses will last another 7 years. You know, we don't have to touch it. We are getting the hydrogen buses, so we'll have a one-time charge of building up our inventory of hydrogen parts. So that's another $750,000. We know that our property liability and insurance, this is a continuing item. That's up about $400,000. And then the last piece, I have $1.05 million in for the line of credit. So that would be the maximum amount, and that would hit in 26. So that's what I talked about at the last board meeting. On the non-operating side, our sales tax, including Measure D, is down 4%. This is different than what the city of Santa Cruz is projecting. They're actually projecting up 2%. Everything we're seeing in the economy, as well as even as we pace through 25, we're missing our targets. We're actually a little bit lower through this time year to date, and it continues to be underperforming our budget. And our budget for 25 is flat to 24. So the curve is going down, and we feel like based off of everything we've done from 25 to 24, or I'm sorry, from 25 to 26, we're going to be down about 4%. That's budget to budget. Actuals will be down about 1% in 25. So effectively about a 3% drop year over year. Our state grants, our federal grants, primarily TDA, STA, is down about $500,000. That is kind of a change from RTC. We usually receive some money that comes in that's kind of shared use project oriented. The money's still staying at RTC, and we may be able to get some of that money, but this is the first year we're getting zero, and we have to figure that out. On the retiree obligations, so what I've done is we have a lot more retirees, and now it's up about $500,000. So this is health insurance, and it's a pay-as-you-go plan. So as people go to the doctor, we pay it. And we're looking at about $500,000 increase because we have more retiree participation. Our pension UAL bond, that's up about $600,000. That's because CalPERS, who actually does the investments, is not returning 6.8% on our money. So it's actually, they're returning less, so we have to make up the difference. The good thing is we have the bond. So we're actually saving money even when they don't return the money, or get the return on the money, but at least we still have to make up the difference. And if they have a good year, that's great. This all goes away. And then the last piece is interest income is down. That's because we're depleting our cash. And as we deplete cash, to return them, the money that we get on the money that's in the bank is going to be less, absolute dollars. And all in all the expenses add up to about, all the changes add up to about $10.9 million. Worse off year over year. And now I will tell you, we are scrubbing going through this fine tooth comb between now and May. So there will be changes. I can't tell you what the changes are going to be just yet, but they are coming and it will be a little bit different, but we need to start somewhere, and this is our starting point.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just think maybe a quick comment. You know, when you look at the national level and you see that the stock market's getting screwed up and often tempted to think, well, that's just all these people that have enough money to invest in the stock markets. But what's it matter to me? The amount of return we get on the pension investment is directly related to how the stock market's doing. And so it's not just wealthy individuals who are able to invest in stocks, but public pension funds of the kind that we're involved in get directly affected by this kind of foolishness that's going on in Washington, you know, where the economy seems to be bouncing around and the stock market's falling. It affects people, our employees. It affects our ability. How much can we give people on a pay increase if we have to put the money into the retirement system to be able to keep up at the pension level that our employees expect from us? So it's worth noting that the foolishness there is not just affecting wealthy people. It affects the rest of us too.
Yeah.
That way.
Thank you. Did you have any more to share?
On the budget?
Yes.
Oh yeah, not this slide,
Okay.
but I got more slides.
Okay. I thought you might.
Unless you're done. Moving back on the preliminary, this is just, that's the heads by department. I'm going to skip on that one. And then this is the changes in headcount. So from the FY25 budget to the FY26 budget, we're going from 443 to 454. The first four headcount that we're pulling out of the budget is really, we're just redefining those roles to a different job title, and they're reflected down below. In a nutshell, the overall increase from 443 to 454 is primarily driven by the fact of transit supervisors and mechanics. We need more mechanics because we're going a third shift because we have these buses, and then transit suits because we have so many drivers. That's the increase. That's in a nutshell is what's happening. And then moving on, so this is just kind of where our funding sources are coming from here for the budget. Sales tax and Measure D is about 38% of our stuff. TIRSUP is 13.8%. That TIRSUP is one-time money. This is basically for Metro Reimagine. So as soon as that money runs out, that piece of pie disappears. And then we have TDA of about 11.6, and then STIC of 7.2, and then the rest. As noted, passenger fare is only 11.8% of our total revenue stream coming in. And then moving on to the capital piece, the big piece, okay, good. So on the capital side, ultimately our whole portfolio, and by the way, these numbers are what we actually have funding for, whether it's, you know, a grant or whether we're using our own funds. Right now, the whole portfolio is about $123.7 million. We expect to spend about $69 million of it by the end of June of this year. And then next year, spend another $36.3 million in FY26 and the residual amount of 18. The big number in here is about halfway down. It says revenue vehicles, the 44 hydrogen buses and the 9 60-footers. That's $55 million, $56 million of the 69 that's going to be spent this year. And we're still working through the process of when they're actually going to be delivered and accepted. So some of that fund I expect to actually move into 26. And we're talking about months difference. And that's really the issue is once we accept it, we pay for the bus. And that's where you're going to see it impacted here. So as we move to May, we'll have a better idea of when we're going to be accepting the buses. And I would see 69 coming down and the 36 going up. But the net's still the same. It's just a bridge between June to July, which is fiscal years. And then the other piece, which is up top, is your hydrogen fueling station coming in, which is primarily targeted for FY26, and that's about $11.9 million. Those are the big pieces that are sitting on the budget itself. And then on here, so our budget portfolio right now, how it's being spent, almost 50% of it is TIRSA. So this is the money to buy the buses. So that's piece of the pie is going to disappear. Once we get the buses, have to pay for them, we're going to submit for TIRSA. And then the rest of the pieces are operating capital reserve fund. That's to pay for some of the smaller pieces, the temp fueler part of that, as well as a lot of our matching pieces associated with the buses and the permanent hydrogen fueler. And then that's it. That would be it.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this? Can you go to the podium and?
So you mentioned, my name is Ben Finka. I'm a bus operator. But you had mentioned the increase in cost regarding medical benefits and pay for employees. Was that what you had said about increasing technicians as well as supervisors? Is that what you had related that to?
But they're kind of two different things. So there's a COLA piece, which is the general increase where you get a pay increase on July 1st. Then there's the associated costs where medical and dental, where our plan actually increases. The providers come back and say medical costs are up 12% a year. So our costs go up 12% a year. So that's that piece. And then the other piece is we've added transit supervisors and we added mechanics to the current level that we have today. We're going to add additional positions because we need more mechanics and we need more transit supervisors. So
Thank you. And coming on the other side of that is as we implement the new hydrogen buses and as we increase the service we're able to provide, my understanding is we get grant money based on headcount and the amount of ridership that we have. Do you think that would offset as well as the increased revenue from passenger fares? Do you think that would help offset the costs?
So I'll talk about the passenger fares. If we run more service and we run more lines, we're expected to get some incremental passenger fares, but it's not super material. It doesn't make so much of an impact. So that's not a direct correlation with the people. And then as for our grants are more around population of here and formula grants that we get in to run operations. So those grants aren't because we have 2 extra people in the agency. So we get that money. So if we hire more people, the grants may not change at all, and it probably won't change. So it's really up to us to operate within our means, which whatever the grant is, that's just one piece of that pie that I showed, is to operate between the grants and everything else that comes in, that we stay within that area. Does that answer your question?
Making sure on the same page that I'm not talking about headcount for on our side for operators and operational staff, but headcount for the number of people we move every day, like ridership. So does that count into the formula grants, or is that just straight population? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments online? And do we have comments from questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks as always for presenting the material so clearly. I think it's very helpful for the board and the public. On your first slide, I just want to make sure I understand. It looks like we're going from a $2.9 million operating surplus this year to an $8 million operating deficit next year. So a swing of $11 million, which it looks like here the COVID recovery funds are essentially kind of getting us balanced for the fiscal 26, and then in fiscal 27, it's another $7.8 million shortfall that even with the COVID funds are going to leave us in deficit. So I get just an observation that, as you noted down at the bottom, to have operational expenses growing at nearly 12%, almost double what revenues are growing, is not at all sustainable. And kind of what is the thinking using one-time revenue to balance for next year? It looks like that doesn't hold for the following year. So do you expect by the time this comes back to the board that fiscal 27 will be balanced?
So I can't talk for 27 yet because we're still working on 26, but I expect 26 to come down from where it's at. From there, like I said, there's some stuff we're working behind the scenes to see what else we can work with. But the 27 piece, I would expect that COVID recovery bucket will cover the rest of that. So we should be back to zero at that point.
And what will be the status of the COVID recovery bucket at that point?
I'll have to get back to you on that. We're still working on it.
Because at some point that bucket, I assume,
it's going to disappear.
Going to disappear.
Yeah,
so
we're
kind of propping ourselves up with it, and that's what it's for. So I think that's okay. But
yeah,
it's not going to be sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the next slide, you touched on this a little bit. One thing that jumped out, or two things. One was the workers' comp, and in the detail you provided, that's up 77%, projected a 77% increase from
Workers'
the current
comp?
year, and then another 10% the following year. I know that insurance costs are rising faster than inflation, but 77% increase, even accounting for increased staffing, is pretty staggering.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, kind of relating back to last meeting when we were looking at collisions and attributing that maybe to new operators, it just gives me concern about the cost of safety issues at the agency if we're seeing a 77% increase in workers' comp. And is that based on an actual quote?
Yes.
In terms of workers' comp?
Yes.
And have they been able to break down how much is due to claims versus staffing?
Yeah, I don't have access to that, so I'd have to bring it and get it to you if you want to see it.
I think it'd be, seems like something is happening that shouldn't be if our workers' comp costs are going up 77%. That was one question. And then could you explain a little bit more about the $1 million marketing campaign? And I'll note also that it looks like the marketing staffing is going from 2 last year to 3 this year to propose 4 next year. So a doubling of staffing in 2 years and $1 million of marketing. What is that campaign, and what do we measure the value?
I will let Corey talk about the campaigns, the incremental pieces that he's going to be doing.
Just the marketing campaign has a one-time element in it for preparing for a potential ballot measure 2026. That will go away future years.
Okay. And I guess just lastly, the next slide shows this staffing growth, and that which is attributable to the reimagined Metro, the operations, the fleet maintenance. Obviously, the fleet maintenance in particular is needed. There's only a few kind of administrative positions, but given what looks like a pretty big structural gap in the operating budget, I would urge that you exercise caution in thinking about growing administrative staffing at this point, because it seems like you could be in a position where in a year or two you may have to start cutting staff. That's all. Thank you.
Do you have any other comments, Mike?
At our budget and audit committee meeting, I'd asked about the workers' comp question. And the answer there was that it's not like we're having a lot more accidents or, we're more things that are costing us at our end. It's just the overall costs we're being charged for the various kinds of workers' comp programs that are going on. I was told was the answer there, that it's not all of a sudden we're having a rash of accidents or making more claims than they were. It'd be useful to get the actual numbers so you can Brad to get the rest of us to sort of see what that picture looks like. And I also just wanted to report that the Budget and Audit Committee recommends this preliminary budget to the board for approval.
Any other comments? None. Being none, a motion is required to adopt the fiscal year 26 and 27 preliminary line item operating budgets and the 26 capital budget portfolio to allow submittal of Metro's TDA, STA claims. Do we have a motion? Donna, second.
Director Donning,
Aye.
Voluntary Johnson, Director
Aye.
Leonore,
Aye.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Martinez,
Aye.
Director Newsom,
Aye.
Director Orbach,
Aye.
Rockin.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks.
We'll move on now to item 15 and hear from John Urgo, our Chief Planning and Innovation Officer, with an update on the Metro system ridership reports for the second quarter fiscal year 5.
Thank you, Chair. Directors, it's always nice to be here in the Scotts Valley Chamber. I feel like we're in a forest retreat in a state park or national park. The only thing missing is the fire crackling in the background. So while Donna pulls up the slides, which I'm not going to be able to see, so I'll pull them. We normally don't bring the quarterly ridership reports off consent, but given that this was the 4th full quarter of Reimagine Metro, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to remind everybody where we've been, what service changes we've implemented, and how it's performed to date. So a quick reminder, what was Reimagine Metro? What is it? It's a re-envisioning of where buses go and how often they should run throughout our county. Our goals were about increasing the amount of service provided, making transit more reliable and relevant to the community's needs, adapting to post-COVID travel patterns, and really try to create a network that's useful for many more people's trips within Santa Cruz County. And these goals came out of 15 months of survey work, outreach. A lot of it was included in the Title VI report that we just had, and really responding to the community's desires. So to date, we've implemented 2 phases of Reimagine Metro. The first phase was in December of 2023, and that was with current operating resources we had at the time. So there really wasn't an increase in service at that time. It was a reorganization of lines on the map along the goals of simplicity, frequency, where it's needed most that I talked about in the previous slide. Phase 2, we then implemented in 2024, over the course of 2024, primarily in June of that year. And this was a major increase, as you'll see, about a 30% increase in service at that time, funded through one-time operating funds, this SB 125 TRCIP funding that we had available to us from the state. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. So phase 1 included, even though I said it was more or less cost neutral, it ended up being about a 10% increase in service overall. Higher frequency in areas with higher demand. So we really reorganized our routes. For example, we had 4 routes running hourly from Watsonville to Santa Cruz, that were condensed into 2 routes running every 30 minutes. So doubling up frequency on key corridors between Watsonville and Santa Cruz is one example. Simplifying the network, eliminating a second fare for transfers. So we implemented free transfers at the time, and some changes again to service in certain areas. But more or less, service stayed on the streets where it was currently operating at the time, but was reorganized. So that's pretty much impossible to see, but if you guys have the screen in front of you, I'm just going to flip through. That was the existing service in December of 2023, and that was the phase 1 network. So what jumps out is the red. The red is 15-minute service. Previously, we had no 15-minute service in the network, and with that first service change, we introduced the 18, the 19, and then our new routes 1 and 2 overlapped in such a way that in east of downtown in Santa Cruz, we were able to provide 15-minute service on Water Street. So yeah, highlighting 18 to 19, running every 15 minutes on the west side, routes 1 and 2 providing that overlapping 15-minute service. We introduced the 90X at this time. That was just peak period trips in the morning and afternoon, and then higher frequency service on local routes in Watsonville on the 79 and on the 1 corridor on Freedom and Lincoln. Other improvements related to span of service and trying to equalize service between weekday and weekend. This was another comment that we heard often throughout the outreach, is that service had dropped off precipitously at night and on the weekends. And so we worked in this first phase and continued it in phase 2 to add service nights and weekends, routes 1, 2, and 3 in the phase 1, operate every 30 minutes until 9 p.m., 60 minutes until midnight, and we added a bunch of weekend service too. Then in phase 2, which again, we started implementing in June, July, really with the summer service change, was planned and was introduced as a 40% increase in service overall. So a really big increase in service, higher frequency wherever we could. Again, improving nights and weekend service, adding more trips on Highway 1 and the 90X, and improving transfers between East and West Santa Cruz. Why all the focus on frequency? That's just what we heard over and over again from people, that 70% of survey respondents told us they would prefer to see Metro invest more in frequency versus expanding service to new areas. And 50% of non-riders told us they would ride Metro if the bus came more often. So we were really trying to respond to that with these other priorities as well. So the night and weekend service, the express service on Highway 1 and Highway 17. The full phase 2 package, again, relied on this one-time state funding. So Director Riskin, this kind of gets into your questions about the budget. When this funding became available, it was one-time funding that we could use for either zero-emission capital expenses or operating. It's very rare to get additional operating funding. We had just gotten the competitive TIRCIP funding for our zero-emission program. We had just gotten a significant federal competitive grant for our zero-emission funding. And so we made the decision as a board, and I think we were in this room when RTC approved that package in December of 2023, to invest $28 million in operating funding and $2 million for our transit signal priority and other bus stop improvement programs on the corridor. We did that because we had a plan. So we had been doing 15 months of outreach. We had our cost neutral plan that we were just implementing, and then we had our expansion plan, and all of a sudden we had operating funding to do it. Super risky, gamble bet to invest it in service, but it's just what we heard that people wanted to see, was to really try to increase the service, knowing fully well that we had about 3 years of runway on it. So beginning in December of 2023 is when we really went on the hiring spree of operators, transit supervisors, mechanics, to be able to implement that phase 2 package. So again, phase 1 and then phase 2, really just expanded a lot of the frequency. So flipping back and forth, we introduced the Route 1 at every 15 minutes, fully between Watsonville and Santa Cruz. The Route 90X started operating all day, every 30 minutes. And then we added the Route 16 back to UCSC. And these changes brought 100,000 residents and 40,000 jobs near service that ran every 15 minutes, or that currently runs every 15 minutes in the daytime and every 30 minutes after 9 p.m. So what we felt was a massive improvement for people taking transit in Santa Cruz County. So how's it doing? I'm going to walk through just quickly the last 4 quarters, actually 5 quarters of ridership reports and one bar chart. So I said we really started in December, but we actually did the first improvements in the fall, so Q2, which begins in October. And that's when we increased the 18 and 19 frequency of that west side service that serves UCSC. And in that first quarter, ridership jumped 37%. There's other things going on here. You know, UCSC was coming back, you know, more into full-time class mode at the time. But I do think we really hit the timing perfectly in the fall, just as students were coming back and having this all-day frequent service on the 18 and 19. The 37% jump is massive, and that's not just UCSC. That was across the district, but primarily driven by an increase in ridership of students. Then in Q3, this was the first real phase 1 Reimagine Metro package. Ridership jumped 23%. Again, a huge increase because we weren't really increasing service at this time. Service stayed neutral. The amount of revenue hours that we were operating, it was just new routes, the routes 1, 2, 3. Ridership went up 23%. Then in Q4, we didn't really do much of a service change that quarter. Ridership still went up 7%. And then in the summer is when we really launched phase 2. That was the 15-minute service on Route 1. That was a really large service increase. Ridership went up 14%. And then finally, this last Q2, which is the report that's in your packet, was an 11% jump. Not a lot of service changes, just kind of rolling through what we had implemented in the summer, but with ridership continuing to increase. So we made a big investment. I think we're seeing a pretty solid return on that investment in terms of ridership. And I'll just walk through that with a couple more lines on the graph, and then I'll stop talking. So if we look over time, when we started in September, the orange line is the Reimagine Metro ridership. The blue line is where we were the year prior. And you can see it's higher throughout the year. During the summer months, ridership dips. It didn't grow that much, and then it grew again in the fall. Overall, in this time period, that's a 23% growth in ridership, and it's over 1 million additional trips that we served in that time period. We're getting close in FY25 to get back to pre-COVID levels of ridership. We'll be around 90, 95%, I think, by the time we finish the year. If we look at service, you'll see that the service didn't increase much throughout Reimagine Metro. As I mentioned, the first service change, we didn't add a lot of service. It wasn't until the summer, June, July, when you see at times it was a 43% increase in service. So we had this massive jump in service, 18% overall in this time period, but trending, you know, kind of 40% as we went off into the future. And then finally, miles, about a 39% increase in the mileage that our buses were operating. And this is where we ran into trouble. So you see the big jump beginning June, July. It ended up that we didn't have the capacity in our maintenance facility at the time to serve that increase. We had the buses, we had the operators, but we struggled to keep up with the maintenance. And so that's where we've had to kind of rethink where Reimagine Metro is going for the next couple of months. So what's planned? As you all know, we've had to revise service a bit. The kind of top dotted line is where we were headed. The bottom one would have been business as usual. And the orange is where we are today. So instead of this 40% increase, we're looking at a 30% increase, and that's where we are today. So currently, we've increased service 30%. We've had to temporarily suspend Route 16 and 90X, but the plan is to bring those back. And as we rethink the plan, we'll come back to the board if there's any significant changes, which are to the phase 2 plan, which are defined in our policies as a 25% change to a route based on mileage or hours. As we try to bring the 16 and 90X back, it may require fine-tuning some of the other service changes we've made in the plan, or we've been working, as Chuck had mentioned, to hire additional mechanics to meet the plan need. So that's where we're at. I'm happy to answer any questions. But again, I just wanted to, we usually present these dense ridership reports to you that we don't take off consent and have a lot of numbers. And I just wanted to walk through where we've been for the past couple of quarters.
We have hands up. Trevor, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the report and the work. It's a huge lift with the whole team over the last couple of years. Do you have in front of you the percentage increase of the youth ridership since the youth cruise free?
Yeah, the last quarter was, I think, 145%. I think that's in the report. That's quarter over quarter.
Okay, and do you know the overall? Sorry, I'm not recalling the report right now.
The overall number
Yeah.
of youth?
No, sorry. 145% increase last quarter. That's
Quarter over quarter. So
quarter over
yeah,
quarter. Okay.
so quarter 2 over quarter 2. When we first launched, it was 300% because now we're measuring back to a quarter where we already had youth cruise free, and it continues to grow phenomenally.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I just I hear really, really great things about it, and I think this is so important for the future of ridership because this is the next generation, and we're shifting the paradigm. We're shifting how people look at buses. I think throughout our community, but with young people riding and then talking it up. I mean, we just had the city hosted a community meeting on Monday focused on youth well-being, and this came up as just what a shift it's been over the last couple of years. So thank you. Thanks for the work.
Anna.
And to tag on that, and I mentioned it in the budget meeting, but I personally know a young man who's bounced from foster home to foster home and is still really doing wonderful things, been on the Cabrillo Senate and doing really overcoming obstacles. But the only way he could have done that is the youth ride free. And that's a face that I see and see the impact on his life. And someone I think is going to do good things in the future. And I'll know Metro had a part of it. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you. It's quite impressive, actually, the increase that we've been able to make happen, and appreciate all the staff that made that possible. I wonder when we're going to get maybe our next report on how we're going to try and market. I mean, we've done marketing, obviously, but there's a lot more service out there, and I don't know that the public is all really aware of it. So I'm thinking of all these people that live along Soquel Avenue and not necessarily all on the west side, 18 and 19, but other places, how we might do more to get the word out there that you can take the bus. It's every 15 minutes all day, till 9 o'clock, and then it's 30 minutes. It seems to me like marketing really could make a difference here. It was available, and I don't think the public really gets how enormous this is.
Yeah, I mean,
are we going to get a report back at some point on what we're doing to market all this?
Danielle is unfortunately sick today, but I know we have something like 100 events planned throughout the summer, tabling and others. So there is a plan to be out there.
Raised her.
Oh, good.
Thanks.
Save me.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, as John mentioned, we do have over 60 events planned this year to try to get the word out. And we're also working on some advertising campaigns. We also have the new bus shelters out. So we'll be looking to put advertisements on those new bus shelters. And then we also conducted a ridership survey recently and are targeting 1,000 respondents to try to get their feedback on service and how they would like to receive communications so that we can market specifically to them.
Thank you. Thank you. Molly.
Thanks. I guess a question for Danielle while you're unmuted. What amount of our marketing budget would be for social media?
What total amount is dedicated to social media?
Yeah.
Right now, it's not too much dedicated to social media. We primarily do a lot of organic social media, so just generic posts. When we were doing Reimagine Metro, we did do some paid advertising campaigns. I would say it was probably only 5% of our overall marketing budget, but it did pretty well. And then we did also incorporate print ads into those too. So we're trying to do it more of an organically than paid subscription. But we have done both for Reimagine. And they've actually had really good success rates.
Yeah, I bet they did. I mean, I would actually suggest that we spend more. In my own experience, I've seen social media be pretty cost effective as far as paid advertising goes, and particularly the fact that we can geo-target extremely specifically to the urban area where those customers are more likely to be using. Plus, it's probably our two biggest likely segments of the population that would adopt or start writing, right? Youth on, say, Instagram and maybe more seniors on Facebook these days. But, both excellent target groups for us. So anyway, just a suggestion there. As far as the Youth Ride Free program, I mean, in general, I absolutely share the enthusiasm, and this has just been an extremely successful program. I'm really excited about it as well. My question is, when we look at the ridership data, how much of that increase is from Reimagine Metro versus Youth Cruise Free? I mean, obviously there's some synergies there, but can we see like when we started Youth Cruise Free, what bump we saw there, and versus Reimagine Metro, and maybe, I mean, my inclination is like, well, maybe more of the bump we're seeing is from Youth Cruise Free than from Reimagine Metro.
Yeah, I can go back and tease those numbers out, but we know that about 60% of our boardings currently are university students, so both UCSC and Cabrillo. 20% is Youth Cruise Free, and 20% is everybody else. That 20% of Youth Cruise Free was about 10% before Reimagine Metro, so it's jumped. So 10% of our total ridership is this growth in Youth Cruise Free.
I mean, and then more recently, it seems like, at least for phase 2, we're seeing 11%, 14% increase in ride. So does that mean like 10% of that is essentially Youth Cruise Free and only 1 to 4%?
Yeah, it's too much math for me to do in my head. I don't want to speak out, but we can go back and look at the trends and see what the growth by component of ridership is over time.
I think or maybe it was 14% in the summer and then 11% fall as far as the increases we've seen. I mean, do you feel like we're hitting diminishing returns, or is it just, again, maybe as was mentioned, maybe people aren't as aware of the service? When you do more outreach, what are the thoughts on how this could, or people just need to understand that the service is available? What are your thoughts on how this continues to roll out?
Yeah, it's hard to tease everything out completely, right? Part of what we're seeing is post-COVID recovery, right? But on top of that, we've added Reimagine Metro. Typically, a good rule of thumb for the return you'd see on service is about 50%. So if you increase service 100%, you might see a 50% return on ridership. There's been quarters when we've done much better than that, like the first quarter of Reimagine Metro, 23% growth. We didn't add any revenue hours. So, we got infinity increase, right? Other quarters have not done as well. I think currently, though, there's probably a lag between all the service we've added beginning in June, this, the the biggest piece of it being the high frequency corridor between Wattsville and Santa Cruz, the 15-minute Route 1. We didn't really see a jump in the summer in that ridership. It stayed mostly flat on Route 1, suggesting that we hope, people are learning about it and adjusting. It takes time to adjust your travel patterns to new service. Then, though, more recently, and we'll bring this in the next quarter, we're seeing a growth currently in this quarter, just anecdotally, I'll tell you, January, February, March in Route 1 ridership. So it looks like people are adjusting to that new frequency. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tease out. We want to run the service for at least a year before we make any kind of conclusions about how it's doing. But the growth that we've seen to date has been really encouraging, right? Every quarter there's been a growth. Whether or not it's, actually, we are meeting it. So just by that general metric of you get a return of 0.5, we've increased service 30%, and we're still seeing a 15% growth quarter over quarter. So we're kind of hitting it as the best we could to date. But I think these other things like marketing and outreach and time really will tell.
Great. Yeah, and I think actually our best marketing opportunity will probably be in June, July when the SoCal Drive project is done. We're going to have a shiny new, surface on the road, some green bike lanes, and it'll be a great opportunity to explain how much better the bus is running on SoCal as well. Might be worth timing our marketing efforts for full summer.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, one other factor I think that would probably help is reliability. It's great to increase the hours and for folks to know about it, but if they don't have a good experience because of buses not being there, I think that can be impactful. And we see in the KPI reports the pass ups or the missed service is a concern. On that note, you mentioned restoration at some point of the 16 and 90X that is somewhat reliant on having more maintenance capacity. I think the budget proposes maybe 3 more mechanics in the new fiscal year. I assume it'll take time to actually get them on board and up. I don't know if mechanics are the only constraint or if there's also space or other constraints. But so I guess first question is, do you have any way of forecasting when you think that maintenance capacity will have been increased to allow for restoration of service growth?
So we're still targeting fall. We have been able to hire 1 new mechanic. We did a recruitment to try to get all 3. We've got 1 so far. There are space and other constraints, but the main constraint is mechanics, really, we think. We've actually gone back through 40 years of data, and when Metro was at its kind of height of service, there were many more mechanics we had on staff, but similar facilities. So we think that's the main issue, but recruiting is still an issue. And there may be other things that we do within the plan. So as we analyze the ridership, if there's service improvements that we've made that aren't really responding at all, then it's possible that we consider adjusting those to create space for the 16 and 90X, because those throughout the outreach were repeatedly important to people.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I'll just note that while the overall growth, it's really phenomenal. It's very impressive. The quarter-to-quarter decline at UCSC is surprising and concerning. And I know we talked about it a little bit the other day. I know the report notes there were 2 strike days, which was the Thursday and Friday before Thanksgiving break, which I'm sure had some impact. But relative to the overall growth, you would have still expected there to be an increase in ridership at UCSC. So I think that's where there's opportunity, whether it's through marketing, and that's certainly a population I imagine that social media might be able to help with. And I think we've talked about maybe some joint communications between the campus and Metro. But it's gone from 60% of the ridership last year to 55% of the ridership. And that's where obviously a lot of ridership, latent and potential ridership is. So welcome any other thoughts you have on why that decline may have happened, and certainly anything we can do to partner with you to get that number going back in the right direction.
Yeah, I do think the 2 strike days played into that. also having to drop service on Route 16 in December definitely played into that during the quarter. Although I will say that, as we've talked, UCSC ridership recovery has lagged versus other segments. You know, local non-student youth obviously is going through the roof because of Youth Cruise Free. Cabrillo ridership is way up. So there's something else happening on the campus of more people driving, or, you know, some other mix of how people are getting to and from the campus that is also playing into that lag in recovery. Yeah. Oop.
Which also then adds to the congestion, which makes it harder for the metro buses to get in and through the campus. So it's a negative reinforcing cycle.
Yeah. And you mentioned the congestion. We are running slower. Like, we see that in the data, not just UCSC, but throughout the county, Highway 1, SoCal, now with the Murray Street Bridge closure. I mean, our buses are moving much slower throughout the county.
I had a couple of comments. If you remember previous meeting, one of the parents talked about increased independence of their child who's able to ride the bus for free, and how they're not having to provide rides. And I just wanted to let you know, I keep hearing that from parents. And I think that that particular behavior is going to increase because the less parents who have to drop their kids off, the traffic improves. Now taking the bus, the kids learn independence, and they learn that this is a great way to get around.
Yep.
You don't need a car. So I hope that that just keeps continuing. Also, after Corey had some articles and discussed publicly what happened with our not expansion of service last year, I think when the public hears what's going on and what we're trying to accomplish, they say, oh, okay, I totally get it. What can I do? You know, how can I help or cheer you on? I think when people understand what the situation is, and it's a very complicated puzzle of pieces that has created this situation that's temporary. Like I told Margot, we should be putting stickers on the buses that have hit 1 million miles so that people see, you know, we're working on this for you. And I think, you know, how, you know, when you're just sitting in traffic and you don't know what's going on, and then you see the lights up ahead, you go, oh, okay, there's been an accident. I get it. I'll just, you know, I'll be patient and try to sit. So yeah. I don't know how we provide that, you know, in a social media world. The kids that are reading, you know, the Instagram posts and stuff, I think the stuff that's there is great. Especially the video of the guys taking the bus to Nicene Marks. That just was awesome. I just loved it. And we got a lot of positive response from that. And it, you know, it's a difficult thing to try to do, to let people know about this expanded service in social media. So I'm sure Danielle will figure out, she's already done so much, but I think that that's a good idea to continue to let people know. Because if our riders are all young, you know, majority of them are younger, where is it that they're getting this information? Because it's possibly not the Sentinel or other, you know, mainstream Facebook. You know, there's other places they're looking for. So we just have to let them know there. And they may not think about it very much. They're just going to the bus stop, get their ride. So it's maybe informing their parents just as much as letting them know. Yes.
I just want to really reinforce and support that point that you made, because I've heard the same feedback from students, both for your service and ours, that if they understand why service may not be what they would expect, both generally, you know, our fleet is aging, we're working on it, you may see disruptions in service, and particularly real time when a bus drops. They're going to be much more understanding and, you know, maybe much less likely to just walk away from Metro and give up. So I think that's a really important point. Communication, even if it's not good news, but just letting folks know the reality, I think it would really help retain ridership. I think that's an excellent.
We'll just put you there at the bus stop with the sign. You just rotate about what's going on. Fabian.
Yes, I have a question. So, youth right free, is there a source of funding for that to continue that service? And is that money gonna run out at one point and then youth have to go ahead and pay a fee again when they get on the bus?
So currently we're using what's called LC Top, low carbon transit, I don't know, LC Top. It's a state funding for zero emission transportation. So we're using that funding. We have it secured through fiscal year 27 at this point. It's pretty much available every year. We decide, or we propose what we're going to use it for. You know, a couple of years ago, we used it for the Watsonville circulator. So depending on priorities, it should be something that's available to continue to fund the program.
And do you have like a time limit when you're like, okay, we're going to run out of this funding? What do we do now? Do we start writing grants again to get more funding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said, maybe it's FY26. I forget if it's 26 or 27. But yeah, as we're budgeting for the next year's program.
Yeah, because I've seen the riders from Aptos High School to Watsonville, and that bus is packed. We're packed like sardines in there sometimes because I come from New Leaf Market in Aptos, and wow, yeah, in Watsonville High School and Pajaro High, Pajaro Valley High School. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, we'll take public comment now. You can go up to the podium.
All right. Hello, board of directors. My name is Nico. I'm just a regular resident and rider from UCSC, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about UCSC's long-range development plan. So with the going years, by 2040, UCSC plans to increase student enrollment by 8,400 students, increasing the total enrollment to 26,000 students from the 19,360 some students we have now. And so that's showing us that Metro is going to have an automatic ridership increase just throughout the going years. And to acknowledge the 1% drop that we've had between quarter two of 2024 and quarter two of 2025 for student ridership, if you looked at line item 15A.1, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and talk about the student ridership experience. Many of y'all have actually brought up the youth cruise programs and just like how the public perception has been increasing for the children just around Santa Cruz, which has been really great. And I also wanted to talk about how like a lot of those students who are really young look up to many of the older kids, college kids, stuff like that. And many of them will have older brothers and siblings. And if their older brothers and siblings are looking at them and they have a bad public perception on the ridership and the consistency of public transport, then that will also roll down to them. And so one thing I wanted to share about just the experience was like, for us, I think a big thing was just not having a consistent communication line between Metro and the students of like Cabrillo and UCSC, specifically UCSC because Cabrillo's been doing pretty great. But if we could have more stop notices and route cancellation notices, I think that it would be really important for everyone just to have that comfortability and knowing that you can trust Metro. I'm pretty sure like most of y'all have had a friend cancel on you or was running late, and you can know like that doesn't feel good when it's not communicated. And so it's the same thing with the Metro ridership, and I've heard many students talk about that the same way. And I know that for me, I'm already a big fan of public transit. And so for many of the other students, that would be really helpful. And I think it would really boost communication.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Do we have any other public comment in the room?
Hello again, Ben Finca. John Ergo. So we have the OCTA buses currently, and I know that those are set to need major service or retirement in the next year or two. And we're getting the hydrogen buses going in the next year or so. And so I was just curious what level, given that we're going to be needing to retire buses as the hydrogen buses come into service, and as well, the OCTA buses are going to eventually be leaving service as well. How do you see that impacting your projected plans going forward for increasing service?
So Ben's referring to 13 older vehicles that we acquired from Orange County Transportation Authority. And the point of doing that was to bridge the gap to allow this increase in service while we're bringing the hydrogen buses online. So we think it's going to serve that purpose, even if they only run for 2 years, because that's the time period that the hydrogen buses will be fully in service. So that's still the plan. Again, the linchpin of that working is the mechanics, is hiring mechanics to do the service. But we think fleet-wise, we're in good shape.
And then I also had some thoughts on the idea of the eventuality that buses break down or a bus is running really late because there was an accident and there's traffic. Is part of the consideration having standby buses? Because I know as it is now, quite frequently, dispatchers, supervisors are having to drop routes because they don't have enough buses. And is standby buses part of the plan?
It's a great question. We absolutely would want to do that, but we don't have the vehicles in the fleet to do that currently, and we won't at least until we get the 53 hydrogen buses online. Then at that point, we can maybe make a decision about holding on to some of those OCTA buses or other aging fleet, some of the buses that have gone 1 million miles to the moon and back twice, to keep as backup buses, but we won't have that ability until the hydrogen buses are online.
And then some final thoughts.
Can you speak up, please?
Oh, sure, sorry. So for UCSC students, when I am on campus serving the school, I frequently have people on campus coming in just through the front door and still like fumbling to show me their ID when that's no longer required and hasn't been for a while. And so if we could communicate that better somehow. And then as well, I remember last year we had a period of time where fares were free, I think about it for a month. That could be potentially a good part of a plan to help people be encouraged to give the best a try.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Do we have?
Hello. Hello,
Go
can you hear
ahead,
me?
David.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm going to give a little bit of user feedback on all this. I live on the west side, and the 15-minute Route 18 service, it's a life-changing thing. I use it many times a week. And the evening service too. Last night we came home from a music thing downtown in the late evening. Oh, and just as an aside, the 40 to Davenport is great for a morning coffee and a walk before work, by the way. Give it a try. And I know I'm in some ways an accidental beneficiary since I happen to live near the university and I'm not a captive rider, but still, it's amazing and I hope we can keep it. It's the right thing. I'm glad to hear you talking about more marketing. Many people don't even have public transit on their radar. About the Nicene Marks post, I actually tried it the next day after I saw that post because I hadn't been there in quite some time. And it was okay, but a little challenging. It's a several miles walk to the entrance. The Big Basin excursion is maybe even a better example. The new branded bus shelters are awesome. They look super pro. like it's a real thing. I hope that also helps. And so to repeat, I just hope we can keep all this. Thank you all for all of this.
Thank you. And I think next up we have Lonnie Faulkner.
Hi, thank you, Metro, for all your work increasing bus service to our community. Robust public transit is critical to equitable access to opportunity, and Metro provides a critical service. Over 20% of our community depends on public transit and Metro. Students and communities of color rely on public transit. Community members getting to school and work are impacted each time whenever they head to the bus stop, uncertain if the bus will be on time and uncertain if they'll make it to work on time. Earlier, a member of the public falsely accused a Metro Board member and Watsonville City Council member of bullying a county supervisor. I attended that RTC meeting and rewatched it on video. Kim DeSerpa claimed that she could not support the train because she wanted a beautiful trail that would allow women of color from South County to get out of traffic and get to work on the trail. As a South County resident who commutes to UCSC for work, Vanessa Quiroz-Cardo simply stated that she would not be able to commute to work from South County on a trail, but wants rail. I challenge all of you to imagine walking or biking from Watsonville to UCSC and back every day. Finally, over 70% of our greenhouse gases are due to transportation in this county, and most can agree that traffic has dramatically increased. Metro is key to addressing climate change. We need to get more people on board, so marketing is key. My husband, by choice, has made the choice to use public transit for over 25 years to work over the hill, to get to work. Unfortunately, the lack of reliability on the main lines to downtown, that's the number 2 for us, have made it harder for my husband to get his connections on time. And my son, like many others in our community who do not have a car, do not have alternatives when the buses are not on time or just do not show up. Too many times, my son has had to make a choice to show up over an hour early to work. It could be very early or very late, or risk being late to work when his bus was late or just didn't show up. I ask your board to consider riding the bus regularly as each of you as board members to better understand how a lack of reliability directly impacts our community members. It is important and exciting news to hear that service is ramping up. People's livelihoods depend on it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lonnie. Anyone else online? Board have any more comments? Done. Thank you, John. Now we'll turn to item 16, our CEO.
Sorry. Right now, I don't know if I mentioned this at the last board meeting, we are in this of doing rider surveys so that we can better understand where our ridership is coming outside of. Right now, we only collect the automated passenger count. Who's actually right. So we're trying to identify that, trying to get a better sense of other things that we service. On March 18th, Metro celebrated National Transit Driver Appreciation Day at our Judy K. Souza facility to express our heartfelt gratitude to all our dedicated operators and staff for their commitment to our riders and community. I know that Director Koenig stopped by. Appreciate that. The other board members had the opportunity. Did. Metro staff are tabling at both the Aptos and Watsonville Cabrillo College campuses over the next few weeks to promote the benefits of Metro and transportation fee to students, which will be voted on. Excited to share that Metro has been named a finalist in the California Association of Public Information Officials EPIC Awards for our Reimagine Metro Digital Communications social media campaign. Winner will be announced at the Capio conference next week. This achievement is a testament to the incredible collaboration across our various departments. Metro will be offering free fares for Earth Day, Tuesday, April 22nd, countywide on all services. Additionally, Metro will be participating in Earth Day events throughout the county on Saturday, April. Metro will also be participating in the Santa Cruz City Schools Transition Programs Resource Fair at Harbor High on April 24th. Metro has secured a line of credit through Santa Cruz County Bank. This was talked about last month. Chuck's currently working on through all the paperwork. However, I do have some details. The line of credit is up to $25 million with a variable interest rate currently around 6.35%. The loan will be unsecured, so the bank will have no claim against property in case of default. There is no minimum draw and only a loan origination fee of 2.5% bank fees will be charged. So the loan origination fee and bank fees we expect to be around $75,000. The Highway 17 Express was included in the Good Times Best of Santa Cruz County 2025 Editor's Pick List. We are excited to have that. Since the last board meeting, Metro has 4 new hires, 1 parts and material clerk, 1 mechanic, and 2 vehicle service workers. And lastly, last weekend I had the opportunity to attend the APTA CEO seminar. There were over 160 CEOs and deputy CEOs. It was a great opportunity to connect and discuss management and policy practices and issues. It's good to be able to talk about things that I can't talk about with anybody else, that only they understand. It was in San Antonio, which actually the weather was nice. Never been there before. It's the end of my report. Questions?
You have any questions from the board?
Well, I know Fabian and I were also at the driver appreciation, or actually employee appreciation, and it was a good job and excellent food and even good weather. So thanks to everyone who got together.
Both for it.
Do we have any public comment? Any online? Thank you. Our next board meeting will be held on Friday, 26th at 9 a.m. at our administrative office located at 110 Vernon Street in Santa Cruz. Thank you for coming, and we are now adjourned.